Settings. Accessing archive. Authorizing. Access granted. Accessing file.
What's good, everyone? Welcome to the video. Gonna be doing a little bit of a different video for you today, as I'm gonna be reading my first public trip report. It came to me in the sauna earlier today that I would like to revisit this, so I figured I'd give it a go and share with you guys. I actually have not read this in years, although I did write it all and post it publicly. It looks like it is 10 years and 8 months ago that this was published. 10 years. Wow. Time flies. So, since I haven't read this in quite a long time, I'm going to be reading it with you for the first time in a while. And I hope you enjoy it. So, the trip report begins, and it's titled 2 Hits LSD plus Ganja equals life-changing spiritual experience. This is going to be fun trying to recall. The story ends with me feeling to be a chosen one, communicating with ancient ancestors of the earth, talking to myself out in the forest. One morning last week, I awoke, smoked a bowl, and got coffee at Starbucks. My buddy texted me that he had some acid. I had done acid a few weeks earlier and had a great experience. I had the rest of the day off, so I went ahead and began planning the process for a trip later that day. I went on about a 3-mile run in nature to detoxify myself and get into a meditative mindset. After the run, I meditated for about 20 minutes and ate a light lunch. My mom makes great fish. My buddy showed up with the acid, and I took it right away. I decided I would not smoke weed during this trip unless it was disappointingly unoverwhelming. A numb tongue, and 30 minutes later, I began to feel strange. I had to shit, and it was rather difficult. I don't recommend this to anyone. On the toilet, I began seeing a towel dance in front of me, and all color in my side vision began to match the color of the towel. The carpet crawled a bit. This was going to be fun. After relieving myself, I went to lay down as I felt a bit heavy, but I knew this would likely pass. Listening to music from my MacBook, I began to set sail into a blissful, mindful, and clear state. This lasts a few songs. Then something happened. The music, it was slower. It had dropped pitch even, like chopped and screwed boards of Canada. I felt time passing slowly, at the speed of the music. As I switched songs, I noticed they were all slowed down and pitch shifted. I needed a walk. I sneaked around the garage and grabbed my bike. Let's relive the Hoffman ride, I said to myself. I put my headphones on and jammed some Flying Lotus. The music, it was normal pitch again, and normal tempo. I was relieved. I wasn't in for a seemingly week-long time worth of a trip. Good. I noticed it was rather warm outside, so I took it easy on the bike. I ended up at a park near my house. I went and sat down to begin some meditation. The heat and mosquitoes got to me, annoying me much more so than my sober meditation practice. I decided to head home and be in the AC until a bit later in the day. I got home and pushed play on iTunes. The music was slower again. Mind fuck. Had time slowed again? My dog ran up to me, and she didn't seem to be behaving in particularly slow motion. I needed a test. I called my buddy and asked him if the music was slow, knowing he wouldn't know I was on a trip. To my horror, he agreed. The music was slow. Was he mind-fucking me? How could this happen? The music slowed in real time? I exited iTunes and restarted it. The music was now normal speed. I researched iTunes having some kind of possible error to slow the tempo of songs. I only found one account on the whole internet of this happening to them. I'm thinking they were also on LSD. After contemplating if I was feeling anything at all, seeing that the music had actually been slow and that wasn't an effect of the LSD, I began to look for more signs that I was tripping. I wasn't. I was, but not very much. The visuals had vanished. It was like a 2-gram mushroom trip. Really controllable. Bored at home and feeling confident in my control, I go to the grocery store and buy a vitamin C drink. I don't know if this contributed to the trip, but only about 30 minutes later, the trip took a whole new level, but not because of the drink alone. Back at home from the store, I decided it was time to return to nature for meditation. I took my bike and a sack of weed just in case. Biking to the local nature reserve, I had a burst of energy. I biked at my full force, knowing that the sooner I get to the location, the more time I will have to meditate before sunfall. By the time I arrive at a nice spot near a rock wall, I noticed I'd forgotten about the heat. I was completely drenched in sweat. Oh well, what to do now? Sit down and meditate. Having smoked so many times in the spot before, almost without thinking, I light up a bowl and begin listening to music. Something serious occurred. Looking up from only my second hit or so, I was in a completely new place. A foreign place. A mystical, eternal, and beautifully peaceful place of mystery and legend. I was in a shaman's trance, and I knew it. This is how you communicate with nature. This is how you see the world as a part of it. Feeling connected to all and everything that ever was. This was divine. Truly the most intense and beautiful thing I had ever witnessed. Just looking around, seeing the world in this new way. Realizing that I had hit the jackpot, I decided it'd be amazing to listen to my own music. Being a creator of psychedelic music, I felt it only appropriate to hear my art form in this fundamentally new way and to see its impact on the scenery. Upon listening to my music, my abstract lyrics came to life, impacting me deeply. The giant trees surrounding me began to be fully animated, dancing in ritual fashion to the music in my ears. The clouds formed shapes, much like you see as a child. Everything began to add up. My mind was kind of taken from me. The unusual thoughts you hear about began telling me that my whole life and the creation of the music I was currently listening to was all for this moment. I realized I was witnessing the grand plot to which my entire life added up to be here in this divinity of connectedness. I felt perhaps the calling a spiritual leader like Moses or Buddha may have experienced. After circling a field in the forest in laughter and amazement, I decided to meditate. I sit down and begin meditation that was every level of intensity as the first and only time I tried DMT. It was a journey through my creativity, through my mind. It was very profound and spoke to me on a new level of my soul. I was giving life-changing revelations by the second. After about 30 to 40 minutes of meditation, I decided to leave, proclaiming aloud, "This has been awesome." I then had the Hoffman Bikeride I mocked about earlier. The sky was an astounding clarity and color. The flowers turned and waved at me as I passed. I could see in fisheye vision, if that makes any sense. Everything began to become more controllable again after arriving at a new field closer to home. I listened to the Beatles and saw Lucy in the sky. My mind projected whatever I wanted onto the landscape I inhabited. Any idea presented by the music or myself, I could vividly imagine right in front of me. This had never happened even on the most intense of shroom trips I've had. It was wonderful. Everything then began to settle down. The rest of the night was spent in the company of a close friend staring into the starry sky. I had never been more exhausted in my life. I felt as if I'd been a man stumbling from the desert after days of walking in search of water. I was completely hydrated, oddly enough. The next day was spent watching LSD documentaries and researching Buddhism and mysticism. I had what anyone would call a religious experience that opened my mind to the possibility of mystical realms and messages from what someone may interpret as God. LSD is, in fact, a doorway to spiritual enlightenment. After this experience, I feel humbled. I realized that what I did was take the helicopter ride to a gorgeous mountain view that only an experienced climber truly deserves. This is a sacred chemical and should only be used for those truly ready and well researched. Safe travels. So that was cool. Again, like I said at the beginning, it's been years since I read that. As I was talking about towards the middle of the trip report, where I said something serious occurred, I can remember that moment vividly. I had never seen the world in that way, that's for sure. It was alive. It was animated. You could feel the spirit of the earth. You could feel the spirit of the trees, of the soil, of the rocks, of the air, of the sky. It was potent. I don't think without this trip I would be here today talking about this. That's for sure. This was a very pivotal moment in my life. You know, you learn something from every psychedelic experience, but some of the earlier ones are the ones that just really shatter what you think reality is and what is possible. And yeah, again, like I said at the conclusion, these are sacred chemicals, sacred molecules. It's not necessarily for fun, although it's not like fun can't be had on them. These are serious. There are serious things that you'll come to understand that can totally change your life if you use these molecules wisely. And if you don't, you could seriously damage yourself. So be careful out there. I hope you guys enjoyed this. It was awesome revisiting it, coming back to this crucial kind of moment in my life. So if you liked the video, give me a thumbs up, comment, all that good stuff. Throw me a follow on the social platforms. That should be linked somewhere below. And we'll see you on the next video. Thank you guys for listening.